We're going to start with we talked about last week as possibly the grand final preview, and after the West Coast Eagles handed the Tigers a 47-point loss at Optus Stadium, they clearly cemented themselves as one of the contenders this year and a team to give the Tigers a legit run for their money, which we were waiting for a team to kind of stand up. And so far, the Eagles are probably the best candidate, with your likes of GWS, Sydney, Geelong having up and down years. West Coast seems to be the best contender. What was the major takeaway you took from that game?
The pace of their ball movement. I haven't seen a team play that fast.
Yeah.
The way they got that ball into the forward line from defence, they opened up that Richmond back line. I haven't seen anyone cut through that Richmond back line like that since 2016.
It was actually just the second time this year they've given up 100 points. Obviously, they gave up 118 to Adelaide, and the last time since last year where they got thumped by the Saints in the debacle of a game where the Saints kicked about 3,000 points in the first half. And
don't see that anymore.
No, it
they
doesn't.
haven't kicked a point since.
That'll be the last time they scored 100.
Yeah,
right?
Probably second last time they got a win.
Because they haven't done it this year, the Saints.
No.
Maybe once.
As we talked about with the ball movement, it was impressive, but it was also impressive how they did it. They had a clear intent, and they've had a clear intent all season to kick the ball and not handball. Yep. So they are the number one team in the league through the first 9 rounds in kicks and marks, and they are dead last for handball. So it's a clear style. What they did was they were able to take... Richmond can't put on their trademark pressure if you just... They have to stand on the mark. They can't do anything. It was just chip kick, if I can get those words out. And then they went inside the forward line to Darling, who's simply playing out of his mind. And then Kennedy and Lacroix, who suddenly rediscovered how to play football. And they're looking really, really, really good. And the Tigers, as we said, I haven't seen that defense look that out of sync.
Yeah, and what I found interesting was that they had less inside 50s and marks inside 50s to the Tigers. They had 45 inside 50s to Richmond's 58, but they scored in 30 of those 45. That's
66%. The AFL average is 45. There's a David King one for you.
Oh.
Deal with it. And the Tigers went at 39%. So their efficiency inside 50 was huge. Not just that, but they took 19 marks inside 50.
How good was Elliot?
19 marks, which is just massive. Elliot Yeo, who looked to injure his knee, but came back.
That was when Richmond had that purple patch where they came back into it.
That was the other thing as well. That second quarter, Richmond dominated. They actually had 23 inside 50s to 4, I'm pretty sure, in that second quarter. And the Eagles managed to go into halftime tied up at 44. Yep. So they didn't let them run away with it.
Is that what makes you think that Richmond aren't... Like, it wasn't such... Like, a 47-point loss is obviously bad, but it's not such a bad loss. It ballooned out a little bit.
Yeah. No, to an extent.
Because
and we talked about it, as good as they were.
Uncharacteristic mistakes by Richmond,
Turnovers,
giving away 50-metre penalties, free kicks. There was that one where Trent Cotchin just punched the ball out of someone's hand.
McGovern's hand gave him a 50, kicked the goal.
Yep, that's...
But even just turnovers, like skill errors, if you turn the ball over that much, it's really hard to defend any team.
I think the crowd had a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah.
They're non-stop noise.
They're brilliant.
They don't stop.
They're brilliant.
And it reminds me a lot of the first or second year at Adelaide Oval when Port Adelaide rode on the bandwagon of the fans and made the prelim final that year. And that
was a tough place to play at.
Yeah. It's a huge home ground advantage, but let's not take away from the personnel of the Eagles, who, as we said, are playing insanely well. Jack Darling had 15 marks in that game, 8 marks inside 50. He kicked 6 goals, should have kicked 7. He has 28 goals for the season. He's smack bang second in the Coleman, behind the big behemoth that is Benjamin Brown.
The Spirit of Tasmania.
Always get
Hashtag.
Mark Lacroix kicked 3 goals.
I just want a free ride on the Spirit of Tasmania.
He's got 18 goals.
I want to go to Tasmania.
You don't.
Yeah,
You don't.
I've been there. It's all right.
Oh, it's great.
It's better
Great
than
stuff.
Adelaide.
Lacroix's kicked 18 goals for the season. Kennedy's kicked 18 goals for the season. Cripps and Redden both kicked 2 in that game. Andrew Gaff is a seriously classy player. I really like him.
He's silky.
Free agent
He's silky.
too.
Yep, free
He's gonna
agent.
get paid.
Nick Nat was huge again. His presence is just unquestionable, the difference it makes to their team, and his tackling pressure.
Physically, he's huge as well.
Chasing down
He's
Sam
a
Butler.
He
But
is an absolute unit.
Even when you don't have Nick Nat, Scott Lysette. Like that combination
quite well.
is so dangerous.
And that is a distinct advantage that West Coast have over Richmond. If we're just looking at that as a potential matchup later in the finals, when Martin and Cochin are going up against Natanui, it's a straight up joke.
Yeah. Even Greig.
They still won the clearances.
Greig
I
got
know,
worse.
but
Richmond won the clearances.
if you just looked at it, I know they numbers-wise won the clearances, but especially in that second half, like Natanui would just grab it straight out of the ruck, kick it forward.
Yeah.
And he can run around the ground too. That's the other thing.
Even Lysette around the ground was
Yeah.
above average.
When Natanui's coming with you for a tackle, you run.
You run the other
Or
way.
you die.
I reckon Brown
Just
could take
ask
him.
Carl Amon.
No, I'd get destroyed.
You die.
Yeah.
Get destroyed. But they were incredible, and it is a lot of those lesser lights, guys like Redden, who have had questions of Lacroix. Even their youngsters have been really good as well.
Sheed.
Waterman was all right. Sheed came back. They did all of that without Shuey,
Yeah,
their
that's
best midfielder as well.
Yeah.
Which, now, we do know the advantage they've got. No team other than Sydney has won a game at that new stadium. Whereas if the Eagles, if
Even
this is
against
the
Freo.
grand final, even against Freo, if this is the grand final preview, they are going to have to come to the MCG where they've lost 18 of their last 23 games. Their only game at the G before finals, if they played there at the G, will be versus the Magpies in round 17. So that's a big game.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, because the other previous one they beat Carlton, which is not enough of a litmus
Not
test
impressive.
to
Yeah, you
get
don't
a
get
gauge
Even
off.
this week's going to be interesting. They're playing
Hawthorn.
Hawthorn at
Yeah.
Etihad.
That's a big
Just
one
coming
as well.
to Melbourne, we'll
Yeah,
see what they're like.
that's-
So they have Hawthorn, St Kilda, Sydney, Essendon, Adelaide.
Especially if Yo and it's
Yeah,
Shuey.
Yo. Yeah,
Shuey
I
back
doubt
in
Shuey will be back. Yo's didn't train early in the week, so I doubt he'll be there.
Yeah.
So they'll have a few injuries, but as we've seen, they've covered injuries
Yeah, they
remarkably
have.
well. So we'll just have to wait and see. Richmond have St Kilda, Essendon, Port, Geelong, Swans. I actually think this is a good thing for Richmond. I don't see it as a bad thing that they lost.
a wake-up
it's a
call.
wake-up
I
call.
would rather not finish top of the table.
Yeah, as long as you finish
I'd
top
rather
two.
finish second.
As long as Richmond finishes top two.
Can I ask you, what did you think of Hardwick's comments when he seemed to shift that premiership favourite status to West Coast? And he says they're now the team to beat.
They've
Do
been
you think
trying
Richmond
to do
wanna be
that.
the underdog?
They've
It's all
been
about mind
trying to
games.
do that all year. It's the same thing as when they versed Collingwood and they're like, "Oh, Collingwood's our
The
best
best team in all-
opposition yet." They're just trying to divert, which is not a bad idea.
You might as well try and do it.
Yeah.
You don't want all the pressure on your own team.
No,
It'd be interesting. I want to see Richmond now. I want to see some of those players in the VFL get a game in the team. I want
them a
to see Soldo have a game. I know
big
Nankervis is doing well.
He was
in
a
the
bit
ruck,
under.
but it's round 8, 9, and he's been playing majority in the ruck. I want to see him have a little bit of a break. They're going to
Yeah,
make
he needs a
finals.
break.
Probably going to make top 4.
how far off is
And-
Rioli? Do you reckon?
He only had 3 touches in the VFL this week. Probably another 2-3 weeks minimum.
I reckon he
Higgins.
plays Dreamtime.
Higgins, yay, nay.
Even Marbio Chol, he kicked 2 goals on the weekend. He's been kicking goals in the VFL. So there's another
Get
forward that
Marbio
can
in
play in
there.
the ruck that could get a game.
So you reckon Rioli will be back in 2 weeks' time when
I
they
think
verse?
he gets another run in the VFL. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's going to be managed, and then he plays Dreamtime.
Yep, could be. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. They're still going to be up there. All Richmond needs to do is get a top 2 spot so they don't have to play the Eagles unless
Yeah.
it's at the G.
Or Adelaide.
Yeah, at the
Pretty
grand
much.
final. So